Hello and welcome to Talking Honey, where we look at life's sticky situations and give them a stir. I'm your host, Shelly Horton, and with me are 2GB breakfast host, Ben Fordham.
Bring it on.
9 Honey columnist, Thattil.
Also ready to go.
And relationship expert, John Aiken.
All right, let's do this.
Oh, boy. All right. I'm glad you're all revved up because workplace politics can be hard to handle. It can be tricky to navigate and it's natural to find allies at work. Often you'll make lifelong friends, but can you ever really be friends with your boss? Ben, you say you're friends with everyone, but is it the same if they're your boss?
I think absolutely you can be friends with your boss. In fact, it's probably a smart move to be friends with your boss.
Sucking up.
No, I like where your head's at, Ben.
Yeah, that's a sucker fish.
I've never seen that before.
Was that awkward turtle?
Yeah,
Wow. Is that a Tasmanian thing? What is that? I've never seen it before.
King Roy, that's what we do.
Look, I've got a bit of history here because my dad used to say to me, always be good to work experience kids. One day, one of them will become your boss. And my boss is my old work experience kid and one of my oldest mates in the world. We've been mates for 20 years. And I've got people who work for me who I'm really good friends with. And that doesn't mean that we can't have some serious conversations from time to time. I know that Tom Malone, my boss, certainly does with me when he's got to give me a pull-through, as we call it, which is
pull your head
a
in.
way of, a pull-through is a gentle way.
Let's explain.
It means that you imagine you put your arm around someone and you pull them through and you kind of give them a bit of a rough up on the way.
Okay.
But I think you can be. I've been at war with some of my bosses and I've been in love with some of my bosses.
Yeah.
And I hope that continues for many years to come. I love you, Tommy.
Throw that in. Maria, do you think sometimes you need to keep a boss at an arm's length as a sign of respect?
Look, I'm not falling in love with any of my bosses personally, but I think it's not so much keep them at arm's length for respect, but it's knowing that there is a power imbalance there. So you can have a good relationship and get on, but I personally am just a little bit wary about how much I share because there is a difference in power there. The dynamic's different. So I share wisely, strategically. Yeah.
Oh,
I keep the good stuff for the friends.
Okay. John, what about when it is a situation that's not a pull-through, but it's a proper reprimand and you're friends with the boss? How does that change the power imbalance?
Well, I mean, I think it certainly can shake it up a little bit because previous to that, you may have got on well in different settings and environments and you've got to know them well. But I think if they're your boss, I'm with Ben, I think it is a very important part of moving your career along is to get along and build relationships, and particularly with your boss. But you also have to realise that there is a line, and if you drop the ball or if you have bad ratings and they need to pull you aside and give you a rocket, then that is their role and you have to accept that. But I do think overall, if you want to get far in this world, you've got to get along.
Yes.
Someone said to me the other day that it's much better to be... No, I've forgotten.
Oh, no, it was the wisdom, the pearl of wisdom that I was waiting for.
What he realised
what I was saying was it's much better to be a lubricator than it is an agitator.
Falling in love with lubricant.
I know. How did we get here?
Lubricant?
We've gone to a weird place.
Can I just bring it back to the topic at hand?
Yes,
please. So I often butt heads with my bosses. I tend to do that. I know, you'd find that very controversial.
I don't see that in you, Shelley.
I know. A lot of people say don't burn bridges. I say may the bridges I burn light my way. You know? No, but my thing is I have some bosses that, like my boss at Triple J back in the year 2000, I'm still friends with today.
Yes.
So I think the difference is if you take the work situation away, are you still friends with them or are you just sucking up like Ben does?
No, well, I don't because I can tell you why. There are some bosses that I have very, very few similarities with. And so that's a relationship that's strictly pleasant, it's professional,
it's formal.
And then we move on.
Yeah.
But then there are other people like my boss that I spoke about before. I knew him well before he was my boss.
Yeah.
Right? So I've known him for 20 years. He was friends with my little brother. He was my work experience kid. And now he's become my boss. So I'm not all of a sudden going to go, I need to keep a distance from Tommy because he's my boss now. No. I'd only do it because I enjoy being with them.
Yeah.
But then there's also that thing, and maybe this is a conversation for another day, But are you allowed to fall in love with your boss? Because
No.
why not?
There are actual,
HR, quick, step in.
There are actual rules around that.
Oh,
Sign a
rules,
form. Sign a
rules.
form.
Sign a
And I would
form.
jump in and I would say also, Ben, that's not a good place to go.
No.
Office romances with the
Okay,
boss
well,
end typically
Let me
very
just
badly.
call in Layla McKinnon, star of Channel 9, a
Of
new host of
course.
Ninja Warrior,
Oh, thanks.
right? Who fell in
ding,
love
ding,
with
ding.
our CEO, David Gingell. And when I now look on Instagram and I see Layla's beautiful photos of her absolutely gorgeous family, and I know how madly in love she is with Ginge and Ginge with her, let love blossom.
There is a
Don't stand
correct
in
way
the way.
to go about it.
That's
You have
it.
to declare it. So
Yes.
I've
It's
also got
protocol,
examples where
you know?
people have gotten together at work and busted up horribly, and it's made everyone uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Rose-coloured glasses over here,
Well,
there are different sides.
I think,
and John,
he's
what
a romantic.
he is.
He's a guy who loves love.
But what
Thank you,
about, if he's going to bring the love into this, what about social situations with work?
Yeah.
You have to be careful with boundaries there.
Oh, look, absolutely, yeah. You don't want to be going out to those Christmas parties and being the guy that gets off his face dancing on tables with shirt off. That is not what you want to be doing.
Not
Keep the
desirable.
shirt
Stop
on.
talking about Ben.
So, no, you have to keep your head on, I think, at all times when you're around your bosses or other executives. But in saying that, I think it's very important that if you are going to have a long-term history with a boss,
Yes.
it's so much easier if you get along with them
Yeah.
versus someone that you're constantly at loggerheads with.
Well, my advice is be yourself. As long as you're not someone who's going around smashing bottles and punching people out or whatever, have a good time when you're out with your boss. Be yourself. Don't think too much. If you're not someone who goes around saying offensive things or doing offensive things, they're going to
Yeah.
go home thinking that you're a nice person.
You're a nice person.
What about the fact that we go out to work functions? I
Yeah.
often suggest to other people, remember, it's a work,
a work
function,
function. It
not
is.
just a
Yeah.
function.
It is.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think the same. And I always got along with my bosses really well. We had a really good time. But I think if you start to loosen up too much and act as you would with your friends in social situations, you don't want to start to subconsciously expect them to treat you as a friend.
Yeah.
You know, when you blur the lines a little bit in
Yeah.
the way that you're behaving. So I think just... It's not be on your best behaviour, be yourself, but just don't go smashing bottles.
Yeah, but
Don't fall
you
in
want
love
them-
with everybody on the
Maria,
team. It's
you want them
just-
to be your friend. You want your boss to be your friend.
but-
So
but
don't
do
be
you-
afraid
do you
of
smash
allowing
bottles
that.
to make
No, but
friends?
what
Is
I'm just
that-
saying is, when you go out, don't
Don't be
go,
rigid.
Don't
Don't be
go
rigid.
containing yourself
Yeah.
so much that you
Yeah.
think, oh, hang on, work function, I've got to be boring. Just be
But also
yourself.
don't be
have
on like a
fun.
3-day bender.
Yeah, I think,
Like it's
I think-
there's a
I think-
line.
That's right. I think an element to this is that you want them after that to respect your stuff.
That's it.
Yeah, and
That's
also-
it.
Expect me in the morning.
Yes, you
I've
don't
heard
want to
that,
wake
yeah.
up with regret.
That's it.
You
That's
don't,
it.
as long as you know, kept things tidy, you're okay.
Tidy, good tidy fun.
Respect. All right, you can see,
Ben doesn't do good tidy fun, I'll tell you that right now.
and this is not a tidy ending. Okay, you can see more segments like this at 9honey.com.au, or if you want to pose a question to the panel, please email us 9honey@9.com.au.